Good morning once again. Now let's settle for the news. It's just a few hours to the first sitting of the Supreme Court on the election petition filed by 2020 National Democratic Congress presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama. Now, Mr. Mahama is in the apex court asking that it announce the election results and allow a runoff between himself and the new patriotic party's Nana Akufo-Addo. Court correspondent Joseph Akable looks ahead on what to expect today.
Some people have asked me what I hope to gain by challenging the results of this election. Let me tell you, I want perhaps the very same thing that my opponent wanted when in 2012 he challenged the results of that election. I want the removal of doubt.
The NDC candidate is asking the apex court to rule that the election results as declared by the EC breach the constitution since no candidate got more than 50% of the votes cast. He's asking that the court announce the results and orders a runoff between himself and the MPP's Nana Akufo-Addo.
I want for all of us to know that our elections should be free, fair, and safe, and that we do not have to settle for a process that leaves us confused and with more questions than answers. I want a Ghana where institutions of state can be held to account, where we can stand on principle and demand transparency without the risk of losing our lives. When people lose their lives, as 7 people have done in the course of our elections, we're moving backwards, not forward. We're unraveling the very fabric of our democracy. We're risking the loss of 3 decades worth of progress.
Mr. Akufo-Addo's lawyers and lawyers for the Electoral Commission have since filed responses to the petition. They contend the petition does not disclose any attack on the validity of the election held in 38,622 polling stations. They also say the allegation of vote padding involving some 6,622 votes is empty and insignificant to materially affect the outcome of the election. They have therefore served notice of an initial objection to be raised, urging the apex court to dismiss the petition. They want a date to be fixed for legal arguments. Other documents related to the case cited by Joy News reveals a hearing date fixed for Thursday, January 14. Mr. Mahama's lawyers in these documents are asking to be allowed to correct mistakes in the petition. A key issue to be corrected is a request that the apex court allows a runoff between Mr. Mahama and the Electoral Commission instead of Nana Akufo-Addo.
More of this later on the AM show. Now, Member of Parliament Phomena Asiyama has written to the Speaker of Parliament, officially notifying him of his decision to align with the NPP caucus in Parliament. Lawyer Asiyama has been in the spotlight in recent times following his appointment as second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Although he has already declared his intentions to sit with the NPP in Parliament, his communique had not yet been submitted to the Office of Parliament. In a letter addressed to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babwin, on Wednesday, Mr. Asiyama states, and I read, I, Andrew Asiyama, an independent member of Parliament for Phomena constituency and now the second Deputy Speaker for same Parliament, do hereby declare that I shall, for purposes of transacting businesses in the House, associate with the NPP caucus in the 8th Parliament. For the avoidance of doubt, I do hereby affirm that I shall cooperate and collaborate with the NPP caucus in the 8th Parliament. Dated this 13th day of January 2021, yours faithfully, signed by Honorable Andrew Asiyama Amwaka. Now, government has expressed its commitment to address the concerns of the Teachers and Education Workers Union. This comes on the back of a nationwide strike declared by the union on Wednesday. Their industrial action by members was to demand better conditions of service from government. TEWU says it cannot comprehend that for close to 2 years, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has not been able to finalize issues on its condition of service, while members continue to work under very difficult situation. We'll also be bringing you this more on the AM show today.
It's precipitated by the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to conclude negotiations for salaries and better conditions of service for TEWU members at the various public universities in the country.
Of special contention and interest to TEWU is the payment of an allowance termed non-basic salary allowance to some categories of the university staff, such as senior members and lecturers. During that negotiation, TEWU also made proposal for its members to be paid a similar allowance too. But the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission flagged the demand and claim it needed mandates from government before allowance could be factored in the conditions of service. It is unfortunate that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is yet to invite the union to any negotiation on the matter.
She said Tewu last December intimated that it was going to advise itself should the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission fail to conclude negotiations on new and better conditions of service for Tewu members at the public universities before the beginning of the academic year in January 2021. They laid the blame squarely on the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission for their latest decision to embark on a nationwide strike.
Tewu would like to emphasize that the blame for the present industrial action lies fully on Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and Tewu had tolerated and operated for several years an outdated collective agreement. The Teachers and Educational Workers Union would like to state without equivocation that the fair wear of its members is always and remains its first priority and calls for member support in the struggle for fairness, justice in the world of work.
Gifty Amna Texan later in an interview stated that their next line of action will depend on the posture and action of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission.
We have just started, and we are only calling them to come back to the negotiation table. We don't know what we can do, but all that we are saying that we don't mean evil. We want them to come back to the negotiation table. If not, we'll advise ourselves in the way they will understand better. And we have started something today. The effectiveness of this strike starts from today. And if they are not coming back, we know what to do.
Reporting for J News, Rafik Salam. Wah.
We gonna roll, we gonna roll.
During video interviews, many interviewees either go blank or get their thoughts mixed up, like I did when I started the show. But journalists are therefore forced to type points on a laptop or on a piece of paper and show it to the interviewee. Now, this wastes time as it extends the duration of the interview. A journalist with the multimedia group has designed a portable device known as paper prompter, which is meant to overcome these challenges. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Mona Lisa from Pong speaks with the man behind this device. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah.
Imagine you've allotted 30 minutes for this particular interview. And in the middle of the interview here, cut. So instead of the 30 minutes, you end up spending more than an hour on this interview. And in such a situation, a teleprompter comes in handy. But it's a case where it's expensive and sometimes bulky. You can't be carrying them everywhere. So I thought to myself, what can I do to salvage such a situation? And the paper prompter came to mind.
The device is made up of a hollow shaft fitted with a cylindrical bar with holes aligning the edge of the bar. The holes are points of attachment to the clip. The sheet of paper is therefore held to the bar by the clips. It is fitted with a bolt to regulate the length of the cylindrical bar depending on camera or paper size.
And the paper prompter has a cold shoe adapter which you fix onto the camera and a horseshoe adapter which you can fix in a camera accessory, be it a microphone or a light. First, I designed a crude prototype and contacted Obin Okofodato of the KNUST College of Engineering and Innovation Center, who helped me so much to design this final version.
As the reporter focuses on his camera, the interviewee looks at the sheet of paper which has the write-ups to help interviewees sail through the interview smoothly. Again, questions can be written on the paper for interviewees to answer without the interviewer interrupting. Reporters can also write down points on the paper for piece-to-camera stories and will not have to carry along expensive electronic gadgets like a teleprompter.
So for 140 cedis, I can give you one to make your interviews very easy. You know, I also find it very hard going through an interview session. And throughout this interview, I also employed the paper prompter. I've done several tests and continue to conduct more tests to see how effective the device can be. But so far, so good.
Mona Lisa Frimpong reporting.
At first glance, one is likely to think electricity is the main source of power for these toy cars. The drinking straws controlling the cars are evocative of the sight of toy cars controlled by wires in the olden days. But this time round, the straws house the brooms. Love FM's Chrissy Deborah has been monitoring the activities and now reports.
At Aja in the Ashanti region, Willie, Emmanuel and Obed have assembled the raw material for the production of the newly found automobile. They are straws sourced from drinking spots, rubber bands, calipo, Hollandia yogurt and people containers, razor blade, nails and assorted rubber bottle caps. The boys get to work by cutting up the containers and inserting the tires, which are the bottle caps. One long broomstick is used to join the car and covered with a straw. This stick will be linked with several sticks to the controllers. The adjoining broomsticks are reinforced with 3 or 4 other sticks to make it 2 to 3 feet long. The ends are strengthened by small pieces of broomsticks and tied by the rubber bands. The controllers are made from one of the containers, which is flattened. 2 of the caps which were used for the tires are fitted on the board, and 2 broomsticks are used to pass through the hose. The broader end of the stick will serve as the joystick, and the other joint to the reinforced brooms with a rubber band. The broom car is ready to hit the road.
So I saw you better and watching in a queen. It was an abandoned, so I saw when you was watching in a bed. So I was all careful, so no tennis straw.
Sometimes the controllers are made shorter to make it run faster. Despite the availability of the materials, it does not come free.
So I don't so what do you about and will be about. Yeah, my bet you 50 pesos. Buy a copy pen, Yaman, and one fashion. Once.
Indeed, I'm here to fully grasp the fiscal laws governing the movement of these cars. But one thing is for sure, the broomsticks effortlessly control the cars as electronics would. For Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, the funeral of former President Jerry John Rawlings is now scheduled for January 24th to 27th. This was after the initially advertised date was rejected by the UNLO traditional leaders. Caretaker Minister in charge of information, Kojo Ponkruma, explains the new date was the outcome of deliberations with the traditional leaders. He adds the order for filing past and the conduct of the ceremony have all been properly defined.
On the 22nd and the 23rd of January 2021, the UNLO Traditional Council will hold a series of celebratory and traditional events in UNLO to celebrate the life of His Excellency the former President Jerry John Rawlings. Those activities will come to an end on the 23rd of January 2021 in UNLO. On Sunday the 24th of January, the national activities will start with a Catholic Requiem Mass at the Holy Spirit Cathedral here in Accra, and then a vigil at the Air Force based here in Accra at 6 p.m. Monday, 25th of January 2021, the mortal remains of His Excellency the former President will be laid in state for filing past by various categories of the general public. Tuesday, the 26th of January 2021, filing past resumes at 9 a.m., led by His Excellency the President of the Republic, followed by the Vice President, former heads of state, the heads of constitutional bodies as well. At 10 a.m., Parliament, led by the Right Honourable Speaker and former speakers, will file past. At noon, the Chief Justice, Justices of the Supreme Court and former Chief Justices will file past. At 1 p.m., the former Chairman and members of the Council of State, former Ministers of State will also file past. At 2 p.m., members of the Diplomatic Corps will file past. And then at 3 p.m., we will make way for traditional and customary rites and celebrations while the body is in state. On the 27th of January 2021, that is on Wednesday, there will be a burial service with full military honors at the Black Star Square here in Accra, led by the Ghana Armed Forces, after which the mortal remains of His Excellency the former President will be interred at the military cemetery at Bema Camp. These are the details of the activities to celebrate the life and to inter the mortal remains of His Excellency the former President Jerry John Rawlings.
And that's how we end the air news with me, Mapitso Sibidi, and Mama V joins us next. Stay tuned. This is actually a piece of song that ended 2020, but it's a welcoming 2021 piece of music. I like Mr. Dew, certainly like Medica. Hello, good morning. This is the AM show, and you're welcome to the review segment of our show.
My favorite part of the song, he said that first no more friend Kwajunto, after more friend El Chairman.
Yeah, man. Big ups, Medical. I like him, really like him. Okay. Akable, how are you?
I'm Joseph Akable.
How are you? You know, I have to like pause and think about it because I've got the two Josephs. It's actually a blessing to have two Josephs with me every morning.
Yes, it is. Yeah. One is very good in mathematics. The other is expected to be good in mathematics, but he's not, unfortunately.
Aboko Gakpo.
For a research reactor.
Oh, did he just go to Britain or something? Because your voice kind of changed.
I'm saying that I don't do kids-focused, playful kind of mathematics.
Oh.
My kind of mathematics is aimed at dealing with national problems and solving economic difficulties. So unless it's focused on that, you won't get me.
Oh my God. Shall we have one of such questions?
You see, those maths and science quiz questions, they don't solve national problems. It's all for the educational value of it.
Yes, sir.
So
we hear you.
Don't be going there.
For 2 days.
Ask me.
For 2 days, the leadership of Parliament has been trying to solve a problem.
A simple mathematical problem.
Can you use a mathematical? Can we solve it with your mathematical means, please? It's a national issue, apparently.
That problem is a political problem. It's not a mathematical problem.
So your maths can't solve a political problem, apparently.
No, it solves mathematical problems. If the economy is struggling and Kenoforiata or anyone cannot deal with it, come to me for ideas and analysis. Otherwise, maths and science quiz questions, it's not going anywhere.
You know, I've been lobbying to be your deputy in Parliament, but I don't think that I can do the job, so I give up. I'll let Aisha take it. Listen, guys,
no problem.
Let's start with the Ghana Health Service website. Let's check out our COVID-19 active cases because we're still pretty much taking it for granted largely, but the cases we keep seeing are going up. And you see in the figures that we will be showing you on the screens pretty shortly. Our active cases, I guess before now, we've always been saying, is lower than 1,000. And if you monitor the president's address on COVID-19, the updates that he's been giving us in, I guess, for a very long time, it's coming down. It's still lower than 1,000. But I guess in the last 3 days, we've gone up, really shot up, and now we're standing at 1,404 active cases. And the deaths, 341. Listen, what am I saying? Short story, COVID is real. I have heard some very personal stories. It's now coming really home to most of us. There are people who have passed on. Just 2 days ago, a 30-year-old, and this is a friend's daughter. It's really coming home. There are people who are reporting various cases to us individually. So you have to take this seriously. You must take it serious. With that said, guys, let's do the newspapers. I mean, it's same reports. People are not wearing the mask. People are not. If you go to the market, they say that virus. Now that we're still alive, we don't see the need. What you're saying doesn't make sense.
The Director General of the Ghana Health Service yesterday, and he said we are now averagely recording about 180 cases, and our hospitals are getting full now. And so we are back to the situation where people are actually sick and need attention. And so he was advising that we pay attention. I think that's the best advice we can give to everyone.
Absolutely.
Well, it's good to see the two of you wearing masks. I think part of the problem is that leadership from the political level to the media level, particularly the political level, all the campaigning they did hugging themselves as if nothing matters and all. It's part of what we're facing today, because we are not showing the example for the everyday people to follow, which is why I think we are where we are today. So it's good to see the two of you in masks. Let's all try to lead by example. All other things when you call. I'm in my house all by myself. That's how come I'm not in mask. Otherwise, I would have been wearing one. Yeah,
absolutely. We understand. There's a statement that the 37 military hospital issued. Since we're talking about hospitals, let me bring this to your attention. If you're carrying a sick person and your plan is to take them to the 37 military hospital and it's an emergency case, you might want to think twice about it. The statement that the issue says that they're going to close down the medical and emergency unit to the general public from today, Thursday, 14th of January, to Thursday, 4th of February. So that's a whole week in order to conduct a fumigation exercise. The closure has become necessary to enable the authorities undertake fumigation as a remedy to any infestation of the units. It is worth mentioning, according to the statement, that measures have been put in place to ensure patients already on admission are not negatively affected. However, the general public is advised to redirect all medical and emergency cases to other health facilities during the period. This is for the guidance and information of the general public, and they say any inconvenience that the closure would cause is deeply regretted. So effective today, if you have any emergency case, please do not go to the 37 military hospital. It is closed. Sometimes, if you get the right information early, you could save a life. So instead of driving all the way to 37 for them to tell you that they are closed, I hope that you can pass the information on now that I have shared it so we can save lives. All right, guys, let's dig into the newspapers. So, Poko Gakpo, I see you've got the Daily Statesman and the Daily Guide. Joseph, you have the Daily Graphic. Do you want to start?
Yes, I'll start with the front page of the Daily Graphic. This morning it has a photograph of Chief Justice Kwesi Eni-Nyabua and a photograph of the Supreme Court building. Election petition is the headline. Supreme Court determines Mohammed's motion today. There's enough food for students, according to the National Food Buffer Stock, until begins nationwide strike. And the other story here says SIGA clarifies the dissolution of boards, that is the State Interest and Governance Authority. The back page has the story about road accidents in Central Region claimed 242 lives last year. It's on the back page of the Daily Graphic.
Okay. Let me just come in with the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and Joseph Opoku Gakpo will give us a bit of background to this. Since it's a political issue, he hasn't obviously been able to resolve it. Who is who in Parliament? Deadlock as meeting to determine majority-minority in Parliament ends inconclusive. Opoku Gakpo, because you're with us. Tell us what happened day 2.
Day 2, the meeting lasted for about 45 minutes, not as long as the day before. The claim in the end was that one of the main reasons the resolution hadn't come was because Asiyama, the second deputy speaker and MP for Fomena, who was expected to communicate officially to Parliament his decision to sit with the NPP side, hadn't done that. And so that's what everyone was waiting for. But later in the evening, we all saw the story make rounds that Mr. Asiyama had actually gone ahead and written that particular letter to the Speaker, Alban Bagbin. Just to quote a bit of that particular letter to you in a while, I think I have it here. Well, I'm struggling to pull it up, but essentially,
we'll put it on the screen.
Sure.
But go ahead and do the summary.
In that one-page letter, he makes the point that when it comes to doing business in Parliament, he will side with the NPP caucus. So he's not moving on from being an independent MP to an NPP MP, but the expectation is that in Parliament on a regular day, you have to be part of either caucus 1 or caucus 2, either a majority caucus or a minority caucus, so that then when it comes to welfare issues and all of that, it's routed through that particular caucus. So looks like that was the outstanding issue. And we're expecting that later today, that meeting would be reconvened by Speaker Alban Bagbin, and they would bring an eventual resolution. But additionally, this morning, the minority, well, I keep saying minority, but you can understand that that's what we've been used to for a while. But the minority leader in the 7th Parliament, who is the leader of the NDC caucus in the 8th Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, will be addressing the media around 11 a.m. to deal with all these issues that have come up. And then we would hope to subsequently hear from the leader of the NPP side as well. Okay.
All right. Let me finish what's on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. 3.9 million Ghana cards remain uncollected. Tewu declares nationwide industrial strike. Late President Rawlings to be laid to rest at military cemetery, Burma camp. In the center spread essentially details of that, the front page stories. They also carry the story of the 37 medical emergency unit closing down until February 4. Page 3, some crime-related stories. Soldier in court for defiling 14-year-old girl. It's a 30-year-old soldier. He's appeared before an Accra Circuit Court for allegedly having sex multiple times with a 14-year-old girl at Burma Camp, Accra. Corporal Ofe Richard Otsiri, charged with defilement, has pleaded not guilty, and the courts presided by Adelaide Abui Kade remanded accused into military custody to reappear on January 27. They've got the details of how he got here in the paper. Ofosuampofu Kweku Boahin trial adjourned to February 2. The Accra Commercial High Court has adjourned the trial of Samuel Ofosuampofu, NDC National Chairman, and Anthony Kweku Boahin, Deputy National Communications Officer of the party, to February 2, 2021. This follows a request by Mrs. MFA Hardcastle, who held brief for Mr. Tony Litha, the lead counsel for the NDC National Chairman, Mr. Ampofu, with the excuse that Mr. Litha was bereaved. And then taxi driver shot dead. A taxi driver identified as Culture was on Tuesday shot dead at Charlie, you have to, it's a place in Dunkwa, Ofing. Apologies. You have to help me with the pronunciation of the name. How do you?
Let me just look at it. Unfortunately, I'm from
Ekwe.
I'm from Ekwe in the Western region. So.
Okay, I think Emwetia Krom probably do for me.
Yeah, it looks better that way and sounds better that way than what you said earlier.
What did I say?
You said something. It's not what was written there. It starts with MM. And
so this is a place in Dunkwa Ofing in the Upper Dintra East Municipality of the Central Region.
Mwetia Krom sounds like Dwarf's town.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. All right, on the back page, 400 master craftspersons undergo training. Kologo People Climax Yesiga Festival. 2 stories on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. Oboko Gapo, you've got the Daily Statesman and the Daily Guide. Shall we go through the Daily Guide?
So the Daily Guide on the front page, Mahama versus Nana at Supreme Court today. That's the banner headline, and it comes with the photographs of John Dramani Mahama, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the Chief Justice Enini Yeboah in the middle of the two. And, this is a story we are all very much aware of, that the Supreme Court will today begin hearing a petition filed by the presidential candidate of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, challenging the results of the 2020 presidential election. There are other headlines on the front page of the Daily Guide. NPP escapes death, and that's in reference to the NPP MP Alex Jomubua Tete, who was driving to his constituency about 2 days ago, and his vehicle was involved in an accident. We gather that he's doing fine and he's recovering. Of course, we wish him a very, very speedy recovery, because the next few days in Parliament will be exciting, and we look forward to seeing him join in those discussions. Those are not the only headlines. There is another one with the picture of Akosua Frema Osei-Pare, who is the Chief of Staff, and it says Jinapo eulogizes Frema. So Samuel Abu Jinapo, the MP for Damongo, has been praising the Chief of Staff, and that's captured on the front page of the Daily Guide. And then there's another story about the Food and Drugs Authority cautioning against unapproved COVID-19 vaccines. That's all on the front page of the Daily Guide. In the center pages, there are some sports stories, blows over Partey cash. And the story is that the manager of the team, that helped groom this young man who has become an international star, currently has gone missing for some days now in Asiyama, following issues having to do with some cash coming in. Not just that, in the center spread of the Daily Guide, there's a very interesting COVID-19 related story that we should talk about. You know the artist Celestine Donko? Mm-hmm. Well, she's been disclosing that she got infected with COVID-19 at a point in time, and she really struggled in the course of having to deal with that. And in an interview with Hits FM, she's been advising that the public should be very much cautious of that particular disease. Not just her, the others talking about the COVID-19 situation as well. Only fools say COVID-19 is a scam, and that's according to another gentleman who has been quoted here, Alhaji False. He's been drawing attention to that and the need for all to pay attention to COVID-19. An interesting story also on the center spread, maize shortage hits Ghana. And the story talks about how Ghana is expected to, see a fall when it comes to the amount of maize we produce in the country. And in fact, the issue having to do with the shortage of maize is something that's been pending for a few months now. For about 2 months now, we've had shortage of maize in some parts of the country, raising questions about whether the planting for food and jobs, which actually has maize as one of the major crop areas, is actually succeeding. We know the president has been praising the minister over the last few days, and the indication is that Dr. Akoto Uswefiye will be retained as Minister for Agri. Well, some of these issues are things that should be dealt with going forward. Let me move on quickly to the Daily Statesman as well. A number of stories on the front page. Rawlings to be buried at military cemetery. That's on page 2 of the Daily Statesman newspaper. The other story here has to do with the Supreme Court beginning the election petition hearing today, and it comes with the photograph of the Chief Justice Enini Yeboah. And then the big story, NDC NPP majority fight to be settled before Parliament resumes sitting tomorrow. So that's tomorrow, Friday. And the indication is that this has to be settled before tomorrow. And it comes with the photographs of Oseichi Mensah Bonsu and Haruna Idrisu. That's accurate. I've also been speaking to Alexander Penyo-Markens, who is the deputy leader on the NPP side, and Ibrahim Ahmed, who is the deputy whip on the NDC side. And they are all confident that one way or the other, the issues will be settled today before the House resumes sitting tomorrow, particularly after the former MP Asiyama gave the indication that he is going to be doing business with the NPP side. We wait to see what will happen in that meeting later today and then bring it all to our listeners.
Does it mean that if we don't resolve the issue of who is majority minority, we can't do parliamentary business?
We can't do parliamentary business, except that chances are that it could be chaotic to a certain extent, because then people occupy seats that the other side will insist they rather are supposed to occupy, and people will take off their names in terms of the banner and all, and that will then create a problem. But yes, in fact, when it comes to the introduction of business in the House, it has to be done by the leader of the House. And the leader of the House is usually the leader of the majority side. So unless we settle that, we don't know who should convene what we call a business committee meeting to then decide on the business that the House should deal with, and who should come and present a business statement outlining what the House should be dealing with before the House begins dealing with those issues. So yes, unless we know who the majority leader is, parliamentary business will come to a halt to a certain extent.
Okay, and I guess also for the formation of the committees, the select committees and the as in committees of parliament, Joseph, because you would have usually on most of them, apart from a few, we can count maybe 2 or 3, which would have the minority side chairing those committees. Is always chaired by the majority side. So this is crucial.
Very much crucial. Yeah. And, you know, there's supposed to be a selection committee that's supposed to determine which MP will sit on which committee. And that selection committee needs to have the speaker as chair and the leaders on both sides on the committee. Until we resolve those issues, even the work of the selection committee, which will then come up with those recommendations, including who should sit on the appointment committee before Parliament can begin vetting the president's ministerial nominees, all that will come to a halt.
Well, so but when it comes to the appointment committee, we already know who is going to be chairing? That will be the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. That's the traditional role, isn't it?
It's actually clear in the standing orders that the chair of the appointment committee has to be the first Deputy Speaker. But apart from that, it doesn't tell you who else should be on that committee. It still has to be the selection committee determining the other 24 members of that particular committee.
Okay. All right. Let's do the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Front page of the Dispatch. The 6 kits. When I saw kits, I was thinking, would they allow us to call them kits? The 6 kits of politicians in our parliaments. Interesting. We've known this for a while. I think very early on in the race, that was also highlighted. But now I realize that they're all daddies, and they. So there's the late Jerry John Rawlings with Dr. Zanato Rawlings, MP for Klotikole. There's Dakwa Newman, MP for Okainkwe, with her late father, Victor Newman. There's Farouk Mahama, that Aisha has interviewed. That conversation is coming up on Personality Profile tomorrow, Friday, God willing. So he's MP for Yendi, with his late father, former Vice President Aliu Mahama. And then there's the Member of Parliament for Ablekuma North, Sheila Battels, with her father, Mr. Kwame Battels, a former MP and minister. So that's the highlight. They've also have the gazetted 2020 parliamentary results. Diligent Chief of Staff deserves second term in office. Abu Jinapo making a case for his former boss. Essentially on the back page, well, the full story of the pictures that we've seen on the front page with the kids, the children of politicians. There's also Elizabeth Ofuswejari, whose father is Ni Ajay Mensah. There's a picture, but their picture is actually on the back page of the paper. If you find it intriguing, you can grab it and check it out. That's it for the Daily Dispatch. You have another paper, Akable?
No, that's it for me.
Have we done the Business and Financial Times? I don't think so.
Okay, so the Business and Financial Times.
Yes, sir.
NIB retracing its steps to focus on industry financing and the President's Herculean task. Details on page 3. Yoko GIPC begin major investigation into unlicensed investment firms. And 2020 record-setting year for equity and debt markets, also on the front page of the Business and Financial Times. The back page has children born today will be only 45% productive by 18th birthday.
Hey.
I see.
That's a long piece. I would love to read it. It's a World Bank research.
So let me see what I can just do a paragraph. A child born in Ghana today will grow up to be an adult who is only 45% as productive as he or she would have been under a benchmark of complete education and full health, according to the World Bank's Human Capital Index updates. Okay, so the HCI is an international metric that benchmarks key components of human capital across countries, measures the human capital that a child born today can expect to attain by his or her 18th birthday. And so details of that story on the back page of the BNFT. Quite interesting there. So Ghana scored 44% in 2018 when the HCI was first launched as part of the Human Capital Project. And he goes on to give details about how it highlights current health and education outcomes and how they shape productivity of the next generation of workers. So it means that it's assessing the systems that the nation has in place and how it can help an individual to be productive. And they are saying that as it stands, you will only be 45% productive if you are born today by your 18th birthday.
But that's also if you're relying on the system, the system that the state has put in place.
Yeah.
But as
So if you escape to some other country, you'll be using their system, their metric, which may be higher than our metric. So,
okay. Well, all right. One of the children that I missed in the Daily Dispatch is the MP for Adenta. So he's with. There's a picture of him and his father.
Quite a whole political.
Ahmed Ramadan and then Mohammed Adamu Ramadan. Yeah.
The father used to lead one of the leaders of the PNC.
Yeah.
And the brother used to be the general secretary, and the sister is the second lady.
Yes.
Yeah, the Ramadans.
Samira.
Quite an interesting political family. And the brother is the NDC MP.
Exactly.
It's an NDC MP for Adenta.
Yeah. It's good. I wish I had a family like that where, you know, if one person is in opposition, if there's a good if there's good relationship. Yeah. If there's good relationship. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's do myjoyonline.com. We'll find the story of the judiciary interested in investigating this matter that the Aswasi Member of Parliament, Muntaka Mubarak, alleged on the probe last Sunday, where he says that there was a Supreme Court judge who tried to influence a Member of Parliament to vote for the former Speaker, Michael Quay. The judiciary has issued a statement, and I'm reading this from myjoyonline.com. We'll open the page in a short while. This is signed by Justice Cynthia Pamela Addo, the Judicial Secretary. Is that it? Okay. So in that statement, it says, they've noted with grave concern the remarks of Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, which have been widely published in the media, alleging that a justice of the Supreme Court attempted to bribe an NDC female member of Parliament. The Chief Justice is taking steps to solicit the assistance of Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak to establish the facts in order that the matter can be dealt with appropriately. See that there are people, if you monitor comments on social media, people are saying this is a swift move, really, really important, especially because we have the election petition. It will be good to settle this matter so that people don't make the allegation, or there's not the perception that some of the Supreme Court judges are aligning to the NPP side. It would, perceptions, can...
I don't know whether the contact has been made already with Mr. Muntaka, but I think if that piece of information relating to who this individual is available to the Chief Justice, in empaneling the group to hear this particular petition, it will help matters if that individual is not a part of it. I do not know whether the contact was made, because by now the panel has been fixed already, and we'll get to know those on the panel this morning. And so I would have preferred that maybe if that information had gone earlier, or maybe if it has already gone, then that's good news, so that individual is not part of this panel. That was in the course of investigation. If the MP decides to put out a name and you have the judge on the panel, and if at that stage they finish with the case, or the case is still pending, it really makes matters quite worse for the image of the judiciary. The judiciary is an important institution that we all want to keep safe, we want to keep respected, we want to keep their integrity intact, because it's the place that when we have to fight, we go there and we fight in a civilized manner. Yeah. Once we destroy their integrity, we make people know that when you go there, you're likely to get a decision that will go in favor of your party in power. We just shoot each other and kill each other.
Yeah, but most importantly, they must also give the people cause to trust them.
Exactly.
So, Poku Gakpo, have you heard anything from the camp of Muntaka Mubarak in terms of the judiciary getting in touch with him on this investigation?
That specific confirmation I don't have yet, but he's made it clear that he'll be ready and willing to cooperate with any probe that the Chief Justice will institute, and that he has all his available evidence that he will let them have once the committee begins sitting.
Do we know this female MP who was being bribed? This female MP is on the MPP side or the NDC side?
The NDC side.
The NDC side.
According
okay.
to Muntaka
By the way, you're
Mubarak.
smiling. There's a name, right? Okay.
Joe was making the point that if the conversation had begun early, so the judge in question will not be part of the panel would have helped. Behind closed doors, everyone knows who is being referenced in terms of who the judge is concerned. So I'm sure the Chief Justice has heard a name. So even if the official probe hasn't begun, I'm almost 100% certain the Chief Justice has obviously heard a name.
Okay.
And so
Joseph,
that to a certain extent should influence the decision.
Opoku Gakpo, so in what form did the bribery come? Was it a phone call? Was there a promise made? Help us appreciate that.
No, if you listen to Muntaka Mubarak, the reference was to a call that went through, and it was promises of things that will be done for the said MP in question.
Which region?
Including
where is this MP from? Which region? You're not telling us the constituency. Just tell us the region. Why do we have you?
When the probe begins,
oh, Master, don't do that.
How far it goes.
Don't do. Is it Ashanti region? Okay, wait. Ashanti region. There are 3 seats for the NDC. There's no female, is there? So I can eliminate Ashanti region.
It's one of the 16 regions in Ghana, which probably begins.
Elimination by rough tactics. Okay.
The name of which probably begins with a V. Probably.
Begins with a what? A V.
With a V.
Oh, that can only be my region now.
Okay. Congratulations, you are making headway.
Oh, so I get a list of the Volta region MPs. There are not too many females there. It's very easy to narrow it down. I see.
There are a number of females there.
No,
so
but
make no mistake.
Not too many. Not too many.
It couldn't be Anglong. It couldn't be Keta because there are no female MPs there. Oh, we can be eliminating.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can take out a lot of the constituencies and narrow
Good
it down.
luck.
Hopefully tomorrow we can share something.
Yeah.
But there's a risk
Good
in
luck.
doing that, isn't it? Okay.
Contempt of the Supreme Court.
Opokoga, just before we let you go, just before we wrap up on this segment, tell us what you're following today. So the meeting will happen again. This will be the 3rd day, correct?
This will be day 3 of the meeting. So that will happen again today. The first day lasted for about 3 hours, second day for about 45 minutes. Maybe it will be less this time around. And then Haruna Idrisu, the leader of the NDC caucus, will be addressing the media as well on the issues.
Okay.
That's per an assurance that he gave us yesterday. So we look forward to hearing what he has to say.
Okay. Akable, what are you following this morning?
Going to the Supreme Court, day 1 of the election petition, there are a number of issues that the courts will deal with. Number 1 being the request to make corrections on Mr. Mohammed's petition. The second being the request for live telecast. And the third is an initial objection by Mr. Akufo-Addo asking that the petition should be dismissed.
And the Electoral Commission.
And the Electoral Commission. So those are the 3 issues that the Supreme Court would have to come to some determination or fix a day to deal with those issues. And so those are the 3 matters.
What's the time?
Today. 9:30 a.m.
Okay, all right. So 2 hot issues happening in our country. We'll definitely keep an eye on. Trust Joseph Opoku Gakpo to bring us what happens in terms of the leadership of Parliament. And then, of course, Joseph Akable from the courts. This is the source to trust. So please don't flip that dial. Stay with us. We've got sports coming up right here on the AM show. Opoku Gakpo, thank you very much. Get some cocoa and get ready for Parliament.
I'll eat bankura and I'll eat tilapia before I step out.
Okay. You're joining the Akpala camp. That's fine. Yeah. Akable, I know.
No, I've had jollof already, so I'm fine.
From the base?
No, I've had it already before I came in.
You brought it from home?
Yeah.
Not from the base?
I cooked some jollof a couple of days ago.
Really?
There's a little bit left, so I brought it over.
No, I won't believe you.
You have to trust me.
It must be Auntie Jane's jollof.
I'm telling your viewers to trust our reports. Why are you doubting my cooking?
Can you substitute report for cooking?
It's credibility.
Tomorrow is Friday, right?
Yes.
How about we do some cooking on the show?
No problem.
Yeah? What would you cook?
Anything.
All right, stay with us. We've got sports coming up.
Good morning and welcome to the sport. Many thanks to Mama V and Akable for letting us know they are jollof joints as well. We'll be going there, won't we? Anyway, today in the headlines, the Black Stars head coach Ben Foko has blamed matchday referee Vincent Amedome for Ghana's failure to qualify to the 2021 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations. Now, according to him, the junior national team approached the game with the right attitude, but the ref had an agenda to stop the Starlets from qualifying.
We considered the first goal and try to make sure that we equalize. And if you look at the way we were attacking, getting our chances to score, I can say yes, because everybody witnessed the game yesterday. Watching the attitude of the referee tells you that the referee don't want us to qualify yesterday. That is exactly what happened yesterday on the field of play. So I can say that he contributed a lot. We went to the game with the right approach because we know we need to qualify, not by say winning the game or whatever. We approached the game for qualification. Either we win or we draw, we qualify. So we went in with the right approach, but it didn't happen. And in course of games, sometimes certain things happen on field. Maybe you would think that there wasn't the right approach for the match. But I think that we went to the match in the right approach. We sat down, making sure that this is how we have to approach the game so that we can even qualify. So I can say that we went in the right approach. Yes, if I say that we are sure that this team will go to places, that doesn't mean that because we lost, that it means that team will not go to places.
Let's come down to the Ghana Premier League. We are in anticipation of another match day. But what's been the story so far? A few statistics from here and there to pepper your morning and get a sense of what's been going on. So far, no team has won more matches this season than Ashgold, Bechem, Karela, and Wafa. So all these teams have won 4 each. No team has won more. And also, match day 7 of all the match days recorded the highest number of goals. That's 30 goals this season. And followed by match day 1, which had 25 goals. Match day 2, which had 20 goals. And match day 8, which has just passed, which had 19 goals. Also, Legon Cities and King Faisal are the only teams to have won fewer than 2 matches this season. Legon Cities and King Faisal are the only teams to have won fewer than 2 matches this season. And Inter Allies have lost 5 games this season, the most defeats for any team this campaign. Not looking good for the 11-1 boys, is it? Meanwhile, 7 teams won their games on match day 8, which just passed, and that's the second highest number besides match day 5, where we had 8 wins across 9 games. So match day 8 gave us 7 wins, and that's just the second highest apart from match day 5. So the overall statistics ahead of the next match day, 71 matches have been played, 158 goals have been scored, which is an average of 2.10 goals per game. We've had 45 total wins, 26 total draws, 37 home wins, 8 away wins, and 40 clean sheets. Who are the top goal scorers in the Ghana Premier League? Daniel Lumote Agblo of Wafa has 7 and is top. There we see Taylor of Karela has 6. Kwame Poku of Kotoko has 5. And Hans Kofi of Ashgold has 4.
To AM Talk here on the AM Show, where we discuss some of the major issues in our country. Well, today the NDC, no, not the NDC as in the party, but John Dramani Mahama is in court on the election petition case. The other 2 parties, Nana Addo Dankwa and the Electoral Commission. Of course, we've got our man on the ground who will be coming through with what happens in the courts. There's also the issue with the leadership of Parliament trying to resolve who is majority and who is minority. We've talked about the implications if we don't get this resolved. It means that really parliamentary business cannot go ahead. Who do you put on what committee, who chairs it, if you can't figure out who is minority and majority? Forget about the fact that the standing orders define majority leader and minority leader. It looks like there is still a deadlock. Will they be able to resolve that today? Joseph Opoku-Gapo is our man in Parliament who will be filling us in. So we will talk about these two issues, and of course we'll talk about other issues confronting us as well. My guest in studio is a new face in Parliament. He's joined this 8th Parliament, and I guess for the last 4 years he's been speaking for the Ministry of Education. So he's a familiar face, but pretty new to Parliament. Ecole Vincent Asifwa is Member of Parliament now for Old Tafo. Good morning to you.
Oh my God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. Good to be here. Good to be here.
And on your first day, it was quite embarrassing. So I have asked this question from members in this 8th Parliament when I get the opportunity to interact with them. What role did you play in all the drama we saw 6th and 7th of January?
Well, let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers. I couldn't have agreed with you more when you said that the first day in Parliament, that is on the midnight of 6th and 7th of January, was quite embarrassing. I had cause to speak to some friends of mine who even termed it as dishonorable. Now, for some of us who are first-timers, the eagerness was there. We felt that we came to the floor of Parliament with some amount of fresh blood. And for that matter, when the NDC side was engaging in unruly acts and what have you, we felt that we could also stand up on our feet. And
are you blaming
also,
the NDC when it was both parties in Parliament that we
all
saw?
We all watched what transpired in Parliament. We knew where it started from. It started from when they first and foremost populated the majority side of Parliament. That was where it started from. Secondly, it also they also had to make sure that the court ruling from Asin North was disregarded. These were some of the things that brought about the unruly act of the NDC. I mean, this is public knowledge, and all of us saw on TV. And so when the first time some of us wanted to defend our caucus, the leadership told us that the strategy of the New Patriotic Party was for us to remain calm and make sure that the clerk, who, in the absence of the Speaker of Parliament, as per the standing orders of Parliament and the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, would have to determine as to how proceedings will have to be done. Unfortunately for us, we didn't have a firm clerk, a clerk who could just give judgments and the next moment you also change the ruling, because it beat my imagination for anybody to even one way or the other put out that the court ruling may have to be followed at the will of the person, because for Christ's sake, this is a superior court of judicature.
Yeah, but if that's the ruling from the leader of Parliament at the time, who was the clerk,
we are lawmakers. The 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. Our core mandate is to go to Parliament, make laws on behalf of the good people of Ghana. And we cannot be seen to be flouting the same laws.
Yeah, but if the clerk rules, even if you think that is wrong, you still have to respect it.
Did you read the last paragraph of the ruling of the court?
What did the last paragraph say?
Unambiguous. It said that the Asin North MP, that is Mr. James Kwesi, cannot or should not hold himself as a member of Parliament until further determinations are made as far as his case is concerned. So on what grounds? Because this is simple English, unless of course I don't understand. If you are not supposed to hold yourself as a member of Parliament and the clerk further makes a pronouncement that the House of Parliament cannot recognize him in Parliament.
However,
why do we have to go and read Article 105 or so and leave the person's will and say that these are the consequences thereof if you want to still break the law? But the same Constitution tells us that we should fight and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
So
if anybody wants to break the law,
disrespect the clerk's ruling or his interpretation and his call. and decided to defend the Constitution. Is that the justification from what we saw?
Do you know that the same Constitution that tells us that you have to defend and fight with your might if anybody want to, as it were, disrespect the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana? It's the same standing orders and Constitution that tells us that there should be secret voting. Now I ask Mamaga, why can't I also be given the opportunity and my will if there are consequences thereof if I want to breach or defy the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana by not voting secretly? The consequences thereof should be for me. Are you getting my point? So you cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time. The point I'm trying to make is that... You
know what you've said is very smart, but can we, the people, do what you've said? Even though there are laws, even though there are rules, we will go against them and we will face the consequences of those.
That was the negative precedence that was set in Parliament by the NDC.
But
because the leader of the NDC, Haruna Idrisu, said that he had, as a lawyer, he had explained the consequences thereof.
So granted that they set bad precedent, but your side decided to follow. So that's what you did. But I just want to understand personally, as Vincent,
right,
what role did you play?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that we have leadership. Even though I've been voted for by the good people of Otafu constituency, you enter the House of Parliament being part of a party that sponsored you. Because I remember when I was filing with the Electoral Commission, it was the New Patriotic Party that paid for my nomination fee, that sponsored me officially.
So any act that we see you engage in on the floor of Parliament, you're doing it in the name of the New Patriotic Party? I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
The architecture of Ghana's Parliament, we have the majority and the minority. This has been defined clearly by the standing orders of Parliament. Now, I went in there as part of the MPP caucus. The decision of the leadership, that is the majority leader and the deputy and the chief whips, Frank Anodompre and the Habibs and Lydia, were that we were supposed to be seated. We were not supposed to be seated because the very first time that the MP for Asiyama pulled Esla Owusu off her seat, I was very close, just about 5 meters away.
So what did you do?
I went there.
What did you
I'm saying that I went there to make sure that calm was restored. And also one way or the other to warn the MP for Asiyama that whatever he's doing, we can also do same. But it is disrespectful for a colleague MP, a minister for that matter, for her to be pulled off her seat just on the basis that she has come to sit at a place that they think that she cannot sit.
Okay,
now, the
great.
point I'm asking...
So when you saw her also, and we condemn the fact that, you know, her seat was taken out of, I mean, that should never happen, not even to a man.
Absolutely.
But she also did push Collins Dowda. So what did you tell her?
No, the point I'm making is that if the MP for Asiyama had not done that, I don't think that Esla would have done that, because Esla had been sitting with Collins Dowda for close to about 30 minutes or even close to an hour. They were having friendly conversations over there. You know the personality of Collins Dowda, a very jovial man that we've all seen, having a very, very, very friendly conversation with Esla. It took the Asiyama MP to come and pull her off for her to retaliate in that manner. Had it not been the actions of the MP for Asiyama, we wouldn't have seen that.
So I guess
that is condemnable.
Can I summarize from what I have been listening so far, because we have to move on? Can I say that? Do I hear you say, oh, everything we saw happen in Parliament started with the minority, then the NDC coming to take our seats. Therefore, everything you saw us do, you can blame it on them.
Absolutely.
Because they took our seats.
They were the trigger. We saw that. Around 10 o'clock, they had already populated the place.
So they caused you to be indisciplined, to be rowdy, to embarrass yourselves?
Was the MPP indisciplined there?
What I saw...
We saw the likes of...
Was not NDC MPP.
The likes of John Jinapor.
I saw parliamentarians.
So I'm saying, there are a lot of MPP.
I saw parliamentarians.
You can see there. The NDCs were wearing largely white.
So
John Jinapor booting ballot boxes away.
NDC, I tell you,
also booting ballot boxes away.
I see our members of parliament.
John Jinapor also holding a marshal and pulling a marshal off. Whatever he was. The marshal, per the standing orders of Parliament, is supposed to be the chief security in Parliament. So if the chief security...
So you can see, I think you can continue to see it MPP NDC.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that...
For some of us, we will see it as our members of Parliament embarrassing themselves and embarrassing us.
I've already said that what happened in Parliament was embarrassing. But it is also important for us to serve notice for Ghanaians to know that who was the trigger of that embarrassing action.
I was hoping, and I'm still hoping, that individual MPs can take responsibility so that we never get to the point where we got to. And that's why I asked you, and that's why I personalized this.
Have you seen the parliamentary service statement? Parliament as a whole regret whatever happened.
We're talking about individual parliamentarians.
So I'm saying that whatever happened there, personally, was embarrassing. Especially my first time. I was not expecting to be seeing this kind of drama. There were times that we saw these videos from Uganda and Kenya and other people.
And now people are also watching
and we were condemning. And
Nigeria has welcomed
this will never happen in Ghana, unfortunately for us.
Yeah, we're not different.
It has happened.
We're not different.
Now I have some amount of conviction that if care is not taken, there can be a day that there can be civil war in this country, if care is not taken. Because these are things that I never thought that it could ever happen.
We're not different, no?
Yeah,
we're just like the rest of our neighbors. Okay, now let's talk about the legal issues. The NDC's John Dramani Mahama with this petition, and we're going to be sharing with you by way of some graphics what he's seeking for in the Supreme Court. But we know there's an initial issue that will also be dealt with. Today we will discover the composition of the court. That's something that we do not know. So 9:30, we're told the court will sit, and then we will hear the correction. I think that's the first thing that we would see the Supreme Court try to do. And then there are also some preliminary objections raised by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the Electoral Commission. We will have a legal practitioner help us with some of the issues. Mr. Martin Pebble will join us. We also have Mr. Nelson Dafamapo from the NDC. He's Member of Parliament for South Dai. He's on this conversation as well. So if we have him, can I say good morning to Mr. Roxing Nelson Dafamapo? Okay, we do not have him. He was expected to be in studio this morning, but unfortunately a bit under the weather, but he can join us via phone. Okay, so let me take you through what John Dramani Mahama is seeking for, and some of the things you've seen already as we've been rolling those visuals there. Essentially, the case that he's been making, that the EC's declaration of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is unconstitutional since he did not obtain more than 50% of the vote cast. So if you follow through what John Dramani Mahama is asking for, he wants the Supreme Court to declare that nobody won the election, not the first round. So there should be a second round to determine the real winner of the 2020 elections. He wants the court to rule that election results as declared by the EC breached the Constitution. He wants the courts, of course, to annul the results. And that would mean there isn't a president-elect, and we have to go into a second round to determine that. Sharing with you the election petition, the 2020 election petition. Here's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's response. Petition does not disclose any attack on the validity of the election held in the almost 40,000 polling stations. Allegation of vote padding is empty and insignificant to materially affect the outcome of the election. He also says the petition does not state how many votes John Mahama should have obtained, except pointing out that none of the candidates got more than 50% of the votes cast. Sharing the response of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, second respondent in this 2020 petition. We know John Dramani Mahama has said that he will not recognize the results of the 2020 presidential election. The petition is incompetent. That's the Electoral Commission's response. EC admits, though, chairperson inadvertently read out the figure representing the total number of valid vote cast as the total number of valid votes, and the percentages of Mr. Akufo-Addo was 50.59% instead of 51.295%. And this is contained in the Electoral Commission's response. Allegation of vote padding untrue, the Electoral Commission says. It admits, though, that minor discrepancies may have occurred as a result of computational and mathematical errors in the course of collation. These errors, they say, did not affect the outcome of the election as declared by the Electoral Commission. So the response from the Electoral Commission, first respondent in this case, but there's a preliminary objection being raised by the two parties. First, let me tell you about the Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission says the EC is asking the court to dismiss the petition without trial because the petition discloses, or it fails to disclose, it has no reasonable disclosure, a reasonable cause of action, basically saying that there's no reasonable cause of action. They want the court to not even get into details of that. Alleged facts sufficient to support every element of claim. So I was just trying to help with a bit of understanding in terms of what they are seeking to do. But what is a preliminary objection? We will get the lawyers to help us with. And then what's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo also saying? That grounds upon which petition is based do not meet requirements imposed on a petitioner under Article 64(1) of the 1992 Constitution. The claim, order for annulment of the declaration of President-elect Instrument 2020 not supported by facts pleaded in the petition. So these two issues they are raising even before the matter itself is dealt with. They want the court to throw the case out, as we say. Mr. Nelson Dafama is Member of Parliament for South Dai. He joins us. He's a legal practitioner. He's an NDC member as well. A very good morning to you, Mr. Dafama.
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers.
Yeah, well, I call my producer. Explain that you're a bit under the weather. That's why you're not able to be in the studio. We hope that you get well soon. So I'm not going to push you a lot this morning. Can you explain to us, you're a member of the NDC. Are you part of the legal team?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But you can help explain what your team is up to this morning at the Supreme Court.
Of course. Yes, simply we are saying that first, we want to amend portions of the petition, which is something that is done in every civil litigation, even in criminal litigation. Charge sheets are amended by prosecution all the time, and so it's not something strange. In civil litigation, you can amend and add more information to the pleadings that you have filed. You can even amend your release. So, well, the steps we are taking this morning in order.
So that's the initial one that the courts will have to deal with. Let me welcome Mr. Martin Pebu, who is also a lawyer. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you also for joining the conversation. Hello, Mr. Pebu. Good morning, Mr. Pebu. Okay, we don't quite have him, but we'll get him to join us so we can deal with the issue of the preliminary objection being raised. I can see you, Mr. Pebu, but I can't hear you. So if you can unmute.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, sure. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Martin Pebu. Okay, good. I wanted you to help us with the preliminary objection being raised by the two respondents, the Electoral Commission and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. What does it mean?
Okay, so in law, what they are basically saying is that the court should not spend time going through the whole case with the, I put it to you, you see the 2012 petition, Dr. Baumia was in the box, he brought his pink sheets, the PowerPoints, all those things. You see the 9 months we spent. what the objections are seeking to say is that we shouldn't, this time is 40, so let's say 7 days for the trial and half. So this time, what the Nana Akufo-Addo and EC are saying is that instead of spending 7 days for the trial, the court should not do that. The court should just look at the case, and then, of course, the lawyers will give legal authorities and throw it out. You see? So that's the preliminary matter. If the court doesn't grant it, what it means is that the court will subsequently give opportunity for Mr. Mahama to enter the box and talk and give his evidence. You see, so far this time, Mr. Mahama didn't present his pin sheets. Mamavi, you've seen that?
Yes, sir.
So he wants to enter the box, or even if not he himself, maybe the director of elections, Mr. Elvis Efri Ankra, or maybe any other person. He can give other people. Or even if he himself talks, he says he'll call 5 witnesses. Yes, I remember that from the petition. So, the effect of the preliminary objection is that they don't want Mr. Mahama to come and enter the box and talk and call all his witnesses. They just want the court to look at the papers filed so far and listen to the lawyers talk about some law and then throw out the case, saying that it is not a good case. It doesn't pass muster.
Okay. Now, Mama V, I agree with Martin to the extent that they're asking the court to dismiss the case. In fact, what they are saying further is that our case has no merit at all. So they are not even saying that the court should even listen to the lawyer, that the court should come to a decision that the case is not supposed to even come to court. When somebody says your case does not disclose the reasonable course of action, it means you have no business coming to court. But that is very strange, considering the fact that in their own answer of the president as well as the Electoral Commission, they agree. For instance, the president agrees that there was some vote padding, but it is de minimis. De minimis in the sense that it is inconsequential. The number of votes that we claim were padded to his votes were inconsequential, were immaterial. And for me, if anybody agrees that there were figures added to there were votes added to my vote, which I am not entitled to obtain, that is fraud. You agree that something untoward has happened. So to that extent alone, the matter ought to have been gone on or gone into on its merit. So that's my first point. Okay. My second point, the Electoral Commission itself, the allegation we are making against the Electoral Commission, they also have come to court to admit that yes, there were mathematical errors, but they are also alleging that those mathematical errors were such that they were inconsequential. That is, they were such that they were not material, they did not affect the final vote. So again, once you come to court to admit to the allegations I am making against you, I am properly anchored. I have properly invoked the jurisdiction of the court. And my case discloses reasonable course of action. Okay.
So I hear you defend and make a case for Mr. Mahama that he indeed has a case.
Indeed, yes.
I'll come to Vincent.
Not just a case, but a very, very strong case.
Okay, we'll see. We'll hear from the Supreme Court later this morning, so I guess we will all figure that out. I'll come to Vincent in a little bit, but I want to ask you, Mr. Martin Pebo, we know that there's also a pre-trial, pre-hearing. At what point does that come in? Hello, Mr. Pebo.
Hello, yeah, Amavi.
Yes, sir.
Please, can you repeat? It's a bit low. The voice, I don't know whether it's coming from me.
Okay, great. I'll try again. I was asking about the pre-trial. At what point does that come in?
So, the pre-trial?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so after the determination of Mr. Mahama's application to correct the errors. They say this morning they have two items on the, let's call it on the agenda. So that let's use other terms that will make it friendly to understand. So the first one is that Mr. Mahama wants the corrections made, you know, the typos that were made in the petition. So the court will hear that and finish it. Then the next thing the court will deal with is the pre-trial. It has to be dealt with today because the law says that it should be done at least before the 15th day. You know, can I proceed to put it in context?
Yes, please.
So, you know, when the petition was filed on the 30th, the time did not start running until it was served the next day. So the law says that once President Kufuor and the EC are served, they have 10 days to answer. So the 42 days started running from the 31st of December when the petitions were served. So the law says after the 10 days, that is to say after the president and the EC have filed their responses, the next thing is for the court to go on with pre-trial.
Okay. And
the court to go on the pre-trial. So that's what.
Okay. I'll come to Vincent and then I'll come back to you so that you explain what goes into that pre-trial, because that's not the point where, if the Supreme Court decides, that's not the point where we will probably see it on television play out. But Vincent, what's your understanding of what is playing out, what is beginning today?
Well, this is typical of Martin Pebu. Yeah, he was my criminal law and taught law lecturer from the Central University.
Good for you.
He will bring the law to the barest minimum for you to understand. But the question I ask is, the NDC went to court on the basis that there should be a rerun.
John Mahama.
John Mahama. Now I ask, what are the numbers that the NDC had? And what are the numbers that the MPP had per John Dramani Mahama, who is the petitioner in court? In the absence of those numbers, I can only agree that the petition that has been sent to court by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is incompetent, is frivolous, and vexatious. I'm saying this because you are going to court to, as it were, seek for a review of what the Electoral Commission declared on the 9th of December. The Electoral Commission declared that the NPP had about 51.295. Initially, they said 51.595, and that is where, in the petitioner's reliefs, it sought to indicate that there were some errors that were made by the Electoral Commission. Now, after they saying on the 8th and 9th of December that they have won the election by well over 51 or 50 point something %. Now, at the material time that it matters most, in the Supreme Court that you've tendered in your petition, Mr. John Dramani Mahama failed to let the people of Ghana know, or if let the court know, that they were able to garner this number of votes. The MPP also garnered this number of votes. And for that matter, it warrants a rerun. For all the 35 reliefs of the NDC, you cannot see that in there. Now, if you also check the numbers that they also put out as far as their petition is concerned, Mr. Dafiamopo mentioned that the figure that the NDC was able to, as it were, allude some material facts to amounts to 6,225 or so. Now in law, they call that de minimis. It is irrelevant. It is not substantial. It cannot outturn the over 500,000 votes that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo used to beat His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. that figure is not enough to overturn the results, or it cannot even warrant the rerun as being sought by the NDC, or if you like Mr. John Dramani Mahama, in the Supreme Court. And so it is very difficult as to how this relief is going to be, if you like, approved by the Supreme Court. And that is why the preliminary objection by the lawyers of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is indicating that on the basis of the facts, or if like the allegations that have been made by the petitioner, that is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, this issue is a waste of time. It is going to waste the precious time of the Supreme Court. And for that matter, trial should not even be granted to the first petitioner. And I think that as a party, the MPP party, we also agree to the points that have been raised by the lawyers of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, with the distinction between what declaration of results and validity of results is. In 2012, you remember, or if like 2013, all of us became aware that elections were won at the polling station. Over 30,000 polling stations across the country that we voted. That after voting, counting is done in front of the agents of the various parties. And then results are pasted for everybody to know at the polling station. In all the 35 relays of the NDC, of like John Dramani Mahama, there wasn't any, not even a single, or if you, let me say, not even one of their allegations or their reliefs to, as it were, outturn any of these polling stations, including the over 301 special voting centers that we had before the December 7th. Okay, and so that famous... So it is very frivolous, and this case will not see the light of day.
All right, we wait to see the famous pronouncements during the 2013 election petition coming back, the fact that elections are won at the polling stations. We'll see how this one plays out. But Mr. Pebu, you're still with me. I know that you won't talk about the substance of this case, but can you explain with your experience? I'll come to what goes into the pre-trial, but can you explain in terms of the composition of this court? We are yet to see how this will be done in terms of who will be on this case. But with the experience that you have, Mr. Pebu, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I hear you.
Okay, so I wanted you to share a bit of experience on that leg.
You said who will be on the panel?
No, I'm not asking who will be, but usually what happens at this crucial period in terms of the formation of the panel?
Okay. Yeah, so this particular one, looking at the context of this case, because it is a second petition since in the Fourth Republic, and since the first one was in 2013, you would expect that by all means, the Chief Justice will seek to take empanel some of the judges who were on the previous one, so that there will be some experience coming from the first one. Because, you know, in things like this, sometimes you hear they'll tell you, don't change a winning team. Okay, but we also know that quite a number of the judges who were on that previous panel have retired. So naturally, we can't have the same panel. But by all means, some from that old panel will be empaneled. That is to say, they will be put on this case to hear this case. That's one. Then, if you look at the judges, some lawyers have opined, okay, that you know, the judges usually come from two streams. There are those who start their careers soon after law school as judges, and then there are those who practice for a long time before becoming judges. So some lawyers expect that there will be some judges who were made Supreme Court justices straight from the bar should also be allowed to sit on it. Are you with me?
I am. It's interesting. We're listening.
Bring the Lord down for us to understand.
So that they want a mix. So what they are saying is that, okay, so let's say somebody like Justice Kulendi. He was at the bar, and then straight away, I mean, when I say straight away, not one day, of course, well over 20 years, about over 25, before he was taken to the Supreme Court. So people are expecting that those who came straight from the bar, that's private practice, should also be put on. So if you use that criteria, then in that case, you have Justice Amegashi, and then Justice Kulendi, and then Justice Scott Kwama. These are the ones that I really remember who came from the bar straight away in recent times. So out of these three, one of them should be on it. That's Justice Scott Kwama. He's senior amongst those people from the bar. Then the next is Justice Amegashi. Then there's Nene Amegashi. Then the third one is Justice Yoni Kulendi.
Okay,
so
but where would Henrietta, Mr. Pebu, where would Henrietta Mensah Bonsu fall?
Excellent. Thank you. As I said, you're just thinking on my feet. So you have it right. Thank you for adding. So Professor Mensah Bonsu is also one of those. So she's also in that category. So out of these four, at least one of them should be added. Then the third criteria, and these opinions I'm sharing, we should give credit to Denise J. Juma. He did an article on that. The third criteria is that our mothers should be properly represented. So women on the panel. Of course, it's a given. Ghana, we've always shown that there is diversity. Okay, but I'm saying that at least Denise put the article together. So naturally, we expect that out of the women judges, some will be on the panel. Of course, some people will sit and say, oh, this is no-brainer. Because Ghana, we have shown quite a solid track record, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court. We've appointed two chief justices who are women in quick succession. So it's not unusual to expect that this panel will have some of our mothers on it.
Okay, so that's those who have practiced for quite a bit before they got here. You've shared the women angle. What's the third?
The third, and that's where I started from, the experience. Those who were on the 2012 petition.
Okay. All right.
So that is some experience from the last petition.
Okay, great. One last question, but let me go to let me go to the Member of Parliament for Saldai, Mr. Roxon Nelson Dapamapo. I know that you want to react to something that Vincent said, but also, do you have any thoughts on the composition of the panel?
Yes. First of all, Vincent knows that when a point of preliminary legal objection is raised and is to be taken, you don't lead evidence. It's strictly a matter of law. You want to use law. So for him to admit to the fact that, yes, the respondents have admitted to certain allegations in the petition, but it is de minimis, it's a matter that cannot be taken at the preliminary stage of the matter. It has to be gone into on its merit. So that's my first point. My second point is that, yes, in terms of the composition of the anticipated composition of the panel for the hearing of this matter, whatever criteria we put out may be inconsequential. The final decision lies with the Chief Justice. He has the power. But like Martin said, deriving from the article put out by Dennis Adejimo, if you look at the stocks directly from the bar, there are also another branch. That is, there are two of the justices who came from academia. That is Justice Mensah Bonsu and Professor Ashikote. They were in academia. They also came onto the bench right from academia. They may not have been into private practice, but they were strictly into academia. So that stock is also very important in empaneling the justices for the hearing of this matter. So for me, between Ashikote and Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, one of them should also be represented.
Okay.
And the issue about gender, for me, doesn't arise at all. There's no way you can panel the justice to hear this matter without a woman or without a man. You will simply not get the notice. So for me, there's no way we can empanel without without the men and without the women.
Okay.
As a matter of the numbers, we surely have a blend. But what is important is the criteria that Martin mentioned. There's three directly from practice, Justice Amagate, Yoni Kolendi, and of course Scott Foreman. One or two of them should be there. I agree. But from academia to between Professor Shikuti, my own professor, and Mensabi, also my own professor, one of them, or both of them could be there, because I'm sure this panel will be a very large panel. I'm sure it will be about a full panel. I think from the last experience, it was a full panel, and the full panel at the Supreme Court is 9. So there will be a place for everyone, every shade of opinion on the bench.
Okay. Mr. Pebu, do you also expect a full panel? Another leg of the question, is this one of those events where you can have the petitioner say object to some members sitting on the panel?
Oh, yes. As for the objection, the law allows it, as you well know yourself, Mama V. If any of the parties has grounds to prove bias, he can raise it, and it will be heard. That's one thing. And as for expecting a full panel too, yes, it's a given, considering that this is a very...
Oh, unfortunately, that's connection is frozen, really, but Mr. Pebu will definitely reconnect with us. I have some news to share, though. We're told that the request for live telecast has been granted. GTV will make the feed available, so that request has been granted. Just fresh information that I'm sharing, because we know that one of the things that John Dramani Mahama was asking for was a live telecast of the proceedings. We will try and get a lot more information in terms of, does it begin today? Would we see what is in court live today? Echo, my producer, please work on that for me so I can share that as well. Mr. Pebu, do we have you back? Mr. Pebu, can you hear me? Okay, we do not have him. Mr. Dafamako, you've talked about, Vincent, let me get your thought on the composition. The interesting analysis, I saw you writing a few things. What do you make of what is playing out?
The germane issue that will have to be considered is not necessarily about the composition of the judges. Be that as it may, I would be interested, among the 3 that have been agreed, or let me say 4, I would be interested to see Yoni Kulindi give a judgment as to how the petitioner and the respondent putting their facts before the court, and the kind of reasoning and case law that will be adduced by Yoni Kulindi, because I really love to listen to him. I've read a few articles from him. As for Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, I've always been reading her books, so I've had enough of her already. But I would want to listen to Yoni Kulindi as to his thoughts about the petition and the respondent's case. Be that as it may, the most important thing is the case of the petition and the response on the part of the second respondent. I am saying this because whether you put Judge A or Judge B, it is the facts that will speak for you. The facts and the evidences that you adduce in court is what is going to give you the reliefs sought, or it is going to quash the reliefs. And so I'm looking forward to an interesting debate if the court so allows that trial should be allowed to proceed in the Supreme Court. But I'm hoping that the preliminary objection may not even allow us to go through all these processes. But, I mean, experience is also very important, as Lawyer Pebu said, especially because in 2013, that was a maiden petition, if you like, election petition that you've seen since 1992. And around that time, you remember, the number of applicants in their various law faculties started doubling and tripling. And because every Ghanaian now had the opportunity to appreciate basic law, had to appreciate what was happening in our courts, because there are some of our people who had never even stepped foot in our courts before. And so the experience is also very important, how our judges were able to manage the situations at that time. And I'm sure that they would be able to give some advice amount of wise counseling to the new ones who will be on the panel, so as to be able to guide them to make sure that there is a fair hearing in court.
Yeah. Mr. Dafamapo, there's another legal mind that's just reminded me that we're in COVID times, so we probably should expect 7 on the panel and not a full 9. Has that crossed your mind?
No, yes, I agree that we are in COVID time. Doesn't mean the panel cannot be a full panel, because from precedent, the 2013 petition or 2012 petition, which started into 2013, was led by a full panel. It was a full panel of 9. I'm struggling to appreciate the fact that because we have COVID, it should be 7. It's a good point to make, but for me, it doesn't mean the court cannot function the way it ought to. So they still hear cases. Indeed, as I speak, you recall that Atitikata was in court about a week ago on the whole matter in respect of the statutory that the AG got. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, he filed for a review, and the review is a full panel. So how would the court handle that? So it doesn't mean we are in COVID, but it doesn't mean the court shouldn't function the way it ought to. They will take the necessary protocols into consideration and work. And I think that's what they will do this matter. So I expect a full panel.
Okay. Let me get your thought. You're closer to the petitioners team than we are. So what more have you heard on the news that's just coming that the court has granted the live telecast to happen? And I call my producer, kindly call our court correspondent for us.
Indeed, Mama V. This tend to agree that the election EI 99, I think so, permit the airing of the proceeding if the court so permits. And in fact, the new election manual produced by the eminent committee put together by the Chief Justice, they also alluded to the fact that once they permit the live telecast of the proceedings, that will be done. But you see, we wanted to that is ex abundance concern for the avoidance of doubt. You know, we wanted to be very careful, wanted to be sure of what we were doing. So even though we know that the law permits it, we want to be sure. So that's why we brought the application.
Oh, but the law permits it, but it's good that you request for it so that there can be a decision, because it's up to them to decide.
No, you see, if you don't take steps to assess that right, and because the law says the court may. So if you don't assess that right formally, and the court says no, in this case we will not allow live telecast, and you are done.
So what in terms of, would we see proceedings today live? Is one of the things I'm trying to clarify here. Do you know?
The grant of the assets, my understanding is that even GTV had set up as of yesterday. GTV was setting up in the courtroom.
Okay, so we might...
As of yesterday.
Okay.
Even when we were filing our application, I think that some backroom negotiations have already taken place. So GTV had already been granted access to set up and broadcast the proceedings live.
Okay.
So the grant of the application this morning, I'm sure it's a mere formality. It's a mere formality.
Okay.
Yeah, so but as to the case management conference, you know, at the high court level where that is very prevalent, it is done in chambers. So that when the parties put their house in order, the exhibits are properly marked and every other document is regularized. Then we come back to open court to begin trial. So I don't know what formula the Supreme Court will adopt, whether the case management conference will take place in chambers for the parties to put their house in order, mark all the exhibits properly, and set everything in order before we come back to open court open trial.
Okay, great. Let me just cross over to Mr. Martin Pebu. What he calls the case management conference, I guess, for ordinary persons such as myself, we understand it to be the pre-trial, the pre-hearing that I wanted you to explain what goes into it. But let me ask of your thoughts for this live telecast that our court correspondent tells us has been granted. That request has been granted, so we'll see that play out live on television. My question is, would it start today?
So are we no longer answering the pre-trial?
No, it's linked. So if it would start today, then would we see the pre-trial also play out on live television?
Exactly. That's why it's to be expected. Because as part of the pre-trial, as Roxanne has referred to, they are going to put all the evidence together and arrange, mark them. But the only point of departure I have with him is that it's not going to be in chambers. It's not mandatory that every judge conducts trial in chambers. They have a discretion. Some do it in chambers, others do it in open court. Considering the nature of this high-profile case, there's a 0% chance of it being done in chambers. The numbers are already too many. I don't see any chambers that will be big enough to accommodate all these judges and lawyers and everything. If they are observing the pre-trial, if they are observing the COVID protocols. So chances are very high for an open court pre-trial.
Okay.
And then, so can we explain a bit about the pre-trial?
Please do.
So, like we're saying, so the pre-trial is basically to make sure that all the logistics are gathered and are ready for the trial to commence. So, take for instance, I was mentioning elsewhere that if Mr. Mahama wants to speak Gonja, that's his native tongue, right? He will inform the court, that's through his lawyers, that he wants to speak Gonja. So they will have to arrange for a Gonja interpreter, okay, for the day that Mr. Mahama will mount the box. If there are other persons in the witness, the other witnesses will call. If some will speak, take all the Ghanaian languages. Then it means they have to arrange for all those witnesses. Then apart from that also, there's going to be the PowerPoints using computers. Maybe you want to demonstrate something on the computer. All those inform the court. Or take another instance. If somebody is out of the jurisdiction and he wants to give evidence by video link, now we allow evidence to be given by video link. So they will inform the court so that the necessary processes and other things will be done so that on the day, the person, if it's in Togo, it's in Burkina Faso or wherever, he can give his evidence by video link, just like we are doing by Zoom today. You see. So those are all the things that will be done. And also very crucially, Maravi, the court, as part of the pre-trial, will try to indicate to the, well, for lack of, will try to indicate is not the best expression, but let's say we'll give the lawyers a fair sense of the time that will be allotted for cross-examination. So pre-trial is a critical time management tool or process. Remember that in this petition, the trial is going to last for 7 days. Of course, if the judges think there are some critical matters that are said that the judges want to give a part of their days, you know, under the rules, the judges have 21 days to give the judgment. So maybe if they want to yield some time to the lawyers, fine. But what I'm saying is that at the starting point, the trial is scheduled to take 7 days. So the judges will be giving the lawyers an indication of how much time they will allow for cross-examination. This matter is very important because usually when we go to trial, depending on who the lawyer is, the cross-examination can take a lot of time. I'm sure you can remember from the 2012 petition that you and I were not there and all those things. So this time, it will be cut down drastically. So all these things will be discussed at a pre-trial so that the lawyers can come prepared. So they will say, look, Mr. Mama intends to call 5 witnesses. When they finish going through, they will say, look, we don't think all the 5 will be necessary. We will take 3 witnesses. Then Mr. Kufuado, maybe we'll take, I don't know what number, but they can cut it down. Then they will tell the lawyers, we'll give you maybe 4 hours for cross-examination of the first witness, 3 hours for the next witness, and so on and so forth. So all those things will be discussed and agreed upon and put at the pre-trial.
Okay. All right. Mr. Pebu, I thank you very much for the education and the insights, your thoughts that you bring onto this very important petition. Thank you very much, Mr. Martin Pebu. Mr. Dafamako, I want to say thank you to you as well. Speedy recovery. Hopefully we can have a live conversation when you get better.
Yes. Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Okay, great. Vincent, you're here. I'll give you the last say. But yes, so the last say on this one, just wrap up for me.
Well, let me say that it is not new to have the court proceedings to be telecasted. In 2013, as I've already indicated, the people of Ghana had the opportunity to see how, for the first time, an election petition was heard in court. And so we are eager to see this for the second time, especially because this time around we may not have to go through that length of about 9 months. This time just about 30 days or 34 days, because we're already done with about 10 days. And so what it means is that we are anxious to see what is going to happen in court. I am just hoping that just at the preliminary stages, this case will be thrown out so that His Excellency the President and Nnamdi Akufo-Addo would have his peace of mind to be able to rule the nation. Tomorrow, on the 15th of January, Parliament is also reconvening, and as I've already indicated, the MPP is mathematically the majority on its side. There cannot be any.
I thought you wait for the speaker to, or you wait for today's meeting.
It is
with
very,
leadership.
It is very, very difficult for me to understand, or if you like, for me to foresee how there can be any mischief or purposive interpretation to the laws of this country. Any purposive interpretation that seek to tell me that 1 + 1 is no more 2. It is going to be very difficult for me to see how it's going to play out.
I guess we'll figure that out.
I hope that the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Babin, after his 28 years of his experience in Parliament, will do what is right. I know he's a doyen as far as the standing orders of Parliament is concerned.
Well, we wait to hear the outcome of that meeting as well. But Vincent, listen, I wish you the very best in this 8th Parliament.
Right. Thank you so much.
Go and carry the dreams of the people of Old Trafford. Never forget, they are the reason you're there.
Thank you so much.
All right. There's something happening on the campus of the University of Ghana, Lagos. Some Commonwealth Hall residents, both old and new, are marching to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana to protest the halting of works on the hall's annex project. Kweku Asante joins us with live updates. Kweku, you've been following this closely. We've seen what you've piped through in terms of the short. Explain what is happening.
It's our next project. And in 2018 also, the Commonwealth Old Student Association, the Old Vandals Association, OVA, wanted to begin the construction of an annex project. And this process has stalled for a while now because management, as it were, has had some challenges with it following the petition by some lecturers of the university. And so the process stalled for almost a year, more than a year. The Commonwealth Annex project was supposed to be a 4,000-bed facility, but it has stalled now because of all these issues. And so today, the Commonwealth residents, both new and then those who were here some years ago, have all returned to chant war songs and march to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana and demand that the next project be made to continue. It will be left to see what exactly will be done. But before I go to some old vandals who are gathered here and speak to them, what happened was a few days back, the next project was almost about to start again, following some conversations by management of the university and lecturers who petitioned against the construction of the hall. And so caterpillars and other construction workers came on site and cleared the place. But the process has stalled again because another batch of lecturers, including the first group of lecturers, have sent a petition to management to say that they still have legitimate concerns concerning the construction of their next project. And so it should be put on hold for now. And that is why old vandals, together with new or current vandals, are protesting this and saying that management must allow them to construct a hostel. So let me go to Bright, Achu, Agbesise, and then Ruben here, who are all old vandals, in whose time this process was supposed to start. But this process has so far stalled. So let me start with you, Bright. The lecturers are saying that they have some real legitimate concerns. For instance, they say that Commonwealth boys are already rowdy. If you give them 4,000 more boys, you can probably control them. They say that this site is a potential for noise pollution if you build another hostel. They say they care about the destruction of the ecosystem where the water flow and other things may stop. Someone would say these may probably be legitimate reasons, for which reasons they want to satisfy themselves that the building of their next project will not stop them. So why are old vandals and current vandals up in arms against this?
Well, to be honest with you, out of all the concerns they have raised, that is the most ridiculous and the funniest of all. That adding 4,000 extra vandals, if they are scared of it. I mean, what exactly are they scared of? Saying that vandals are rowdy, I mean, it's nonsense. What do you mean by vandals are rowdy? You understand? You have real accommodation crisis that over the years the university has failed to do anything at all about. I mean, they've done next to nothing about it. Every year, parents and students get stranded on this campus because of accommodation. Some exchange blows. You should have been on campus the other time, Legon Hall here, where even some parents were fighting, they were exchanging blows. And then old vandals, the university has failed actually to do something about it. I mean, aside the African integrity and all the other things they've done, they are trying to do private partnership, whatever. But they have failed to actually take action. And now you are blessed to have a strong association as the Old Vandals Association that is coming on board to actually do a project to ease your tension by providing 4,000 bed capacity. And what do you expect? We expect that the members of the convocation, or these people who are petitioning rather, should actually be sane enough to support this kind of projects. But what are they talking about? Destruction of ecosystem. What do they mean by destruction of ecosystem? They should show us just a single hall or hostel built on this campus that they didn't, trees weren't felled. They should just show us one. So you see, these concerns are ridiculous. These are people who have hatred for the hall, and they are just showing it. They are just using flimsy excuses to actually make it known now. Because in reality, the concerns are not concerns. It's just bullshit. And they are just trying to actually prevent Commonwealth from actually doing what is supposed to be done, which is solving the accommodation crisis. So I don't see any legitimacy in their concerns at all.
Right. So let me go to Ruben, who is also an old vandal, and share some of the concerns he has regarding this. So Ruben, Bright has said a lot, particularly relating to the decision by some of these lecturers to stop the construction of their annex. Don't you think that they have real reasons, for which reasons they must satisfy themselves that building the annex project will not cause any damage to the ecosystem, or that it will be in the best interest of the university to do so now?
Yeah, as Bright was talking, he did say something about rowdiness. You see, in this, our part of the world that we live, see, those people who stands for the truth are always hated. And with regards to the reasons that they are giving, it's very funny, because when you sat down and think of it, you wouldn't get any critical sense in all the excuses that they are raising. Talking about ecosystem, I wouldn't even go to the hostels aspect. We have lecturers bungalows here on campus, and these lecturers that are petitioned are the ones that are residing in these bungalows. They should come out and tell us that not a single tree was felled before their bungalows were constructed. You see, a group who were students years ago has seen the stress that mothers and parents goes through to get accommodation for their wards when they gain admission to study here in University of Ghana. And these people are trying to do something that would benefit not just the whole, but the whole school as a whole, and then that of a nation. So I think that it should be something that everybody should come on board and embrace it, so that we give our maximum support for the construction of this project, which is coming a long way to solve an accommodation issue, not just for students, but also for lecturers to also get a place to reside.
So just like Ruben just says, the accommodation, the 4,000 bed hostel, if constructed, has even some bungalows for lecturers to also reside in. And let me send you back a little back in time to when some of these issues started. So this is a story on legonconnect.com, campus-based story. And I remember at the time I was a student here on campus and I wrote this story. Some 25 lecturers of the University of Ghana have written to the Vice Chancellor requesting further information through a special meeting of convocation on the construction of an ultramodern Commonwealth Hall annex. In the letter dated 23rd December 2019, the 25 lecturers raised 10 questions they request edification on. Among other things, the lecturers asked why the present site for the construction was chosen, whilst adding that it will potentially destroy the unique architecture of their university. In their 4th point, they posit that without attempting to impugn any ill intentions to Commonwealth Hall students, the congregation of 5,000 vandals at the pinnacle of the university gives cause for extreme concern, especially in the event of student disaffection about something. In addition, they want to know if an environmental impact assessment has been carried out to ensure that noise levels, sanitation, water supply, light, ventilation, and security are not jeopardized for the entire hall, lecturers who live close by, and UG workers at the registry. So some of the notable lecturers who were calling for the halting of the construction of the next project, Professor Akosia Adumakwampofo is a professor of African and Gender Studies. Esther Sechi Dawson, a former director of academic quality assurance at the university. Professor Doji Chikata, current director of the Institute of African Studies. The others include Professor Agnes Budu, a former warden of Volta Hall. Ms. Amadatson, IT Service Delivery Manager at the University of Ghana. Dr. Osman Al-Hassan, Dr. Kojo Senaya. And just to give you a brief information about the project, the facility was estimated to cost $42 million, and it was expected to deliver a fully finished 4,660 bed capacity, comprising of a 302 one-bed block, 552 two-bed block, and then 3,806 four-bed block, 32 two-bedroom lecture flats, and then 8,000 capacity auditorium and shopping mall. So this project was, as it were, the sword for the project was cut by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Benozo Odro-Usu, a few years ago, as in 2019, and the project was expected to last for academic year, and then the project will come on stream. But the project stalled. And just when the project was coming back on stream, another set of lecturers have just written to the Vice Chancellor on 9 January 2021, addressed to the Vice Chancellor saying that they are requesting for an emergency meeting of convocation on the construction activities at Commonwealth Hall, and they say that in line with Article 25(7) of the University of Ghana Statute, we, the undersigned, are requesting a special meeting of convocation to provide information about the ongoing construction activities at Commonwealth Hall. And so, very soon, just like you see in the shot behind me, vandals, both old and new, will be marching to the Great Hall, which is the seat of the administration of the university, to demand answers from the Vice Chancellor and other senior management members in terms of what exactly the project, what exactly the status of the project is. And so let me go back to Bright again. Bright, will you be taking part in this match?
Of course. You know, 2019, when the university was faced with a humongous accommodation crisis, Commonwealth for JCR actually formed a committee called the Accommodation Crisis Committee, which I happened to chair. And we wrote letters to various stakeholders, Vice Chancellors Ghana, we wrote letters to the Vice Chancellor of University of Ghana. At that time, I don't know if up to now, he's still the chairman of the Vice Chancellors Ghana. We wrote letters to the presidency, to the Minister of Education or Ministry of Education, and almost all stakeholders, you understand. And then in 2019 matriculation, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ebenezer Odro, actually stated categorically that he has given a green light for the Commonwealth for accommodation and our next project to actually commence. And it was a welcoming news. The same way we actually wrote to the presidency actually wrote back to us acknowledging our letter, but has never said anything concerning that again. And that has been it from 2019 till now. So it tells you clearly that, you see, there are real issues that we are concerned about, and there are people who are dormant about it. There are people who don't want to do anything about it. This is not something that is going to benefit just the two of us or anybody else. You see, it is something that is going to benefit generations to come. I am an old vandal now. I have left the school, you understand? But my kid brother may come to this school, my kid sister may come to this school, and when you have an accommodation structure like this, it is going to ease the tension that is actually being created. So for some people or some group of people to actually gather with the I mean, I read the first petition and the one they brought last 2 days again. And I mean, what is the substance of the petition? What exactly are they talking about? Ecosystem and what? What exactly are they talking about? I mean, it is funny. Which of the halls have they built without destruction of ecosystem? Haven't we embarked on, planting of about 5,000, trees on this campus? Is that not building ecosystem? I was part of it. I was part of the Vice Chancellor's green whatever that we built. We actually planted, these seedlings. So what exactly are they talking about? So whatever witch hunting it is, whatever it is that people feel threatened, that you have a great number of vandals is going to threaten them. I mean, they should relax their nerves. They should just relax their nerves.
So what will this march be seeking to achieve? At the end of the day, what will be a win for old vandals in terms of this project?
So we want to tell them that this hall is the citadel of activism. Nooks was birthed in this hall, and so many things have, projects or policies were birthed in this hall. So if they want to fail us, if they want to, by using their tactics or antics to actually stall this project, we know what to do as students. See, vandals have done it over the years, and they shouldn't think that we are dumb. They shouldn't think that, they shouldn't take the silence or our silence now as weak point. No, it is calculated effort. And as they are really making it to explode, it will explode on them. So this demonstration is sending a strong signal to them that we as students, we are major stakeholders in this project, and we will not, under any circumstance, let them derail it any longer.
Right. So, but I look at the numbers, and it's not as massive as a vandal's walk or a vandal's march can be. I mean, do you think the Vice Chancellor or anybody will see this number and say that this number is huge enough to make them change their decision?
Don't let the numbers up there deceive you. I mean, when you come to Commonwealth, or maybe when they are charging or, singing to embark on procession, you may not see the number. It is when the people are moving down. And let me tell you something. Even that is a strong signal. I think the level 400s are now coming to school, or they are coming to school tomorrow or today. They have started coming today or tomorrow. And still we have a number there. And don't be, you see, it is not just going to be a demonstration. If whatever we are looking for is not achieved, it's going to be series of actions, series of demonstrations. If it's the numbers they are looking for, we can give them thousands of it.
Right. So if it is the numbers they are looking for, they will get it. So I just spoke to Bright Achuagbechise and then Ruben about the march that is about to be embarked upon by residents of Commonwealth. They will soon be getting down. And so, Echo, you can take it back in studio, and then we'll be monitoring these proceedings. Whatever the process will be, we'll get back to you.
All right, absolutely. Kweku Asante, my colleague from the University of Ghana, Legon. And of course, he will bring us the other leg of that protest and whether or not indeed there will be a meeting between management of the university and the vandals. But the AM show is proudly brought to you by Elegant Homes and General Construction. It's a wholly owned Ghanaian company with over 15 years experience. Affiliate company is the Elegant Home Products Limited. They fabricate and sell high quality UPVC windows and door profiles from Turkey, plasterboards, cornices, gypsum adhesives and accessories. They've got luxury residential properties in prime areas. For instance, in East Legon, They also are constructing properties in other parts of Ghana. Elegant Homes is now selling 3, 4, 5-bedroom executive detached houses at its gated community, which is called Elegant Courts at Katamanso off the Adenta Dodowa Road in Accra. The project has solar street lights, underground sewer system, 24/7 security, tarred road, constant flow of water, estate management services, and a recreational area with a tennis court, playground, swimming pool, and mini shops. That's exactly the place that you want to live. Clients have the option to choose from their wide range of architectural designs and have it modified for them. You could also request for a tailor-made service where they build to suit your individual taste. Houses are built to the highest standards, and they ensure that the finest materials are used to give you excellence, luxury, beauty, and value for your money. So why don't you get in contact with them? Properties are located at East Legon and Elegant Courts at Katamanso. Give them a call right now, 0244 699053 or 024 897 4428. Here's the last number you can reach Elegant Homes on, 057 659 7419. Elegant Homes is proudly supporting the AM show. Let's catch up with the Tewu strike that was called. Action started yesterday. We go to the University of Cape Coast live to join my colleague Richard Kwejenyako. Richard, what's happening where you are? What can you tell us about the action that Tewu has embarked on?
Well, so Mama, I can tell you that the strike is in full force. When you come to the campus of the University of Cape Coast, you can see that the place has not been swept. So on the street, you see papers and other things that are lying on the floor. These are supposed to be some of the works that the TEU members are expected to do. I've also been to some of the halls of residence, and you can see that things have not been tagged at all. So they are expected to also ensure that the halls are very clean and without any, but everything is there, like none of them is even at post. And so that is currently what we are witnessing on the campuses of the University of Cape Coast. Yesterday, when they met at the bottom tree, they indicated that some sections of the workers would have to be going to work, those who belong to the essential services, like the hospital, like those who are in charge of water. They made a list and then took these people out that should, even those that are striking, fall sick, that is where they will be going to. So they do not want to even tamper with anything. And so that is what we have been made known by the TEU members and the officials of TEU at the University of Cape Coast.
It's perhaps a bit too early, but how would that affect teaching and learning today, for instance?
Well, so academic activities have not yet started here at the University of Cape Coast. It was only yesterday that they were through with the orientation. They would have to undergo some registration and medicals before teaching and learning could actually take place. Those that are currently on campus are freshmen and women. They do not know anything on campus. They were just shown around yesterday. So I think that it will be more biting from tomorrow, because if the halls, their washrooms, and the other places have not been taken care of, it is there that they will start feeling the pinch. But for now, they would not feel it that much, because it's only yesterday, part of yesterday and today, that they started the strike. So okay. I feel that should lectures begin and the TEU members are not back on campus, that is where we will see, we'll start seeing real trouble, because the lecture theaters will not be swept, the tables and the chairs will not be, clean and all of that. So it remains to be seen what happens subsequently. Okay,
all right. Richard Kwejenyako, we'll leave it here. But just to also add that the Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEU, met with some officials. It was an emergency meeting on Wednesday, yesterday, following the action that they called. Ignatius Bafo-Ewa, former employment minister, his deputy then, Bright Rekobrobe, and others were in this meeting. And here's what they issued at the end of that meeting, a joint statement between the parties. They said they had agreed that TEWU will meet its local executives from the various public universities today, Thursday, 14th of January, to share the details of the outcome of the meeting with them and revert to government on decisions reached by tomorrow, Friday, 15th of January. But they say they've been able to resolve in principle the issues pending further consultations with relevant stakeholders on both sides. More update as and when we do have. But as you celebrate this very important milestone of your life, we ask nothing but God's divine blessings and grace in your life. May you be blessed beyond your wildest imagination. And that is to you, Mr. Daniel Latte, as you celebrate your 70th birthdays, from your children and the Latte family, and of course from all of us to you. Happy, happy birthday, Mr. Daniel Latte. Stay with us. Kadi has got show business news here on the AM show after this.